Hey, how's it going? So, uh, we're having some technical difficulties, but I want to see if it's me or Vita. So I went on the air, and I want to see if the people can hear you, Vita. So let me know if the people can. Actually, am I live? Are we live? I can't tell. Hmm. Can people see us? Are we okay? So I can't hear you, Vita, and I'm not sure if we're even live. Oh, wait. Okay, no, we're live. All right. So I heard myself on the stream. People in the chat, can you hear us? Yeah, I'm still not hearing you, Vita. Can people in the chat hear Vita? If you're watching, just okay, so she disappeared. We're on a delay anyway, so I don't it's gonna take a while before we see your responses. But anyway, okay. No, I'm not hearing. Yeah, so people in the chat can't hear you either. Yeah, check your settings. Okay, so I'm gonna keep trying. I'll wait for her to come back. But in the meantime, I'm gonna start talking about what I was gonna talk about. Have y'all seen the thing with Franklin from Peanuts? The Apple TV thing that's happening with the character Franklin. It's kind of interesting. I'm waiting to see if Vita rejoins us so that I don't have to repeat the whole story for her. So I'm just gonna wait to see if she comes back. But basically, there is a Apple TV has apparently bought the whole Peanuts library. That's why you don't see Peanuts, those Thanksgiving specials and Christmas specials. That's why you don't see them every year on CBS or ABC anymore. Apple apparently bought the library because the streaming networks are trying to get people on their streaming platforms at any cost. So they're getting all types of sports packages, series like Friends, and all types of very popular series like Seinfeld. Uh, everybody's fighting to get market share, and they're just gobbling up all types of content and libraries. And you know, Apple got the Apple TV got the Peanuts library. And someone says it sounds like Penis library. I mean, whatever floats your boat. If that's the headcanon you want to use, um, by all means, use that. But I don't know if Vita gave up or what. Maybe she's still working on it. Yeah, but um, what's kind of interesting, right? And it's kind of the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Not that I've ever seen, but online there is this thing with Franklin, right? Uh, where Franklin, the black character of Peanuts, has apparently been very controversial. So I'm just gonna share it real quick. And every year at Thanksgiving time, um, the black people on Twitter will complain about this exact same scene. I think it's very interesting because it's a literal seat at the table, right? So I had no idea how many grown people were butthurt about this, but have y'all seen this? So Franklin's on one side of the table, and all the Peanuts kids are on the other side. And this is apparently like every year on Twitter, they would um you can't call them blue checks anymore. I guess the bougie blacks, the representation blacks, the BuzzFeed blacks, whatever, they would always complain about this one scene, and there was a big meme about it, about how messed up. And one thing that's really weird about how these people consume media is they're always trying to relitigate the prom or relitigate. Excuse me, I'm allergic to the bullshit. Um, they keep trying to relitigate these weird things, and I guess this scene just became the encapsulation of all their microaggressions from dealing with white people in high school, the workplace, and various sports teams or friend groups in their life. Like they took it like way too serious. And this thing is really like, let's say worst case scenario, this special is 50 years old. It's the 50th anniversary of the special. Let's say worst case scenario, this was racist. I mean, it was 50 years ago. Um you have to let people be a work in progress. But one thing I find really weird about how these people consume media as well, they both, it's increasingly common for people to both, oh, hey Vita, you want to give it a try?
Yeah, how's it now?
You know,
Okay, awesome.
uh, it's increasingly, oh wait, Raw, you have Peanuts muted. Why? Like, why did you have it muted if you didn't know about the controversy? Because I would understand if you had it muted if you knew about the controversy, but I'm guessing you had it muted for like another reason, which is interesting to me because oh, she was joking. Okay, um, yeah, but yeah, I feel uh like there was the scene of Vita. Have you seen this scene of the show called The Morning Show?
No, not the morning show.
Okay, so there's this thing, right? Nicole Bahari was on the morning show. She's an actress. She had this scene. I think this is it, but let me just play it real quick. I'm going to have to occasionally keep stopping the thing because YouTube, if you play anything for 15 seconds or more, you risk a copyright strike. I didn't realize that this is why people talk through clips all the time, but that's why. So I'm just gonna stop every now and then just to you know, deal with that. But hold on one second. I'm gonna put this thing on the screen. I'm really rusty. Like,
Well, I kind of missed your earlier commentary, so I'm kind of curious
okay,
about what
there we
this whole
go.
thing is about, which is kind of why I jumped in.
It's fine. We'll double back to it. You'll be able to pick up. You'll see. It's pretty
Okay.
self-explanatory. But it's about the Black Peanuts character Franklin and the table meme. I don't know if you ever seen the table meme, but we're gonna be
Yeah.
go back to it. Okay.
Okay.
Tell me
Yeah.
what you know.
I saw all of that. That's why I wanted to jump in on it. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Let me see what T's got to say about it. But yeah.
Have you seen the meme before? It comes around every Thanksgiving where they
Yeah.
kind of where they
Of
cry that he's
course.
yeah, okay. Yeah, so this is an example of what I mean about people act like things are real. So this is a clip that went viral on the internet in general. Like this was like people doing think pieces about this. And it was I guess these characters' name are Chris and Sybil. I don't watch this show, but people were celebrating Nicole Bahari for this scene, but they're both celebrating her as an actress. Like Nicole Bahari needs to win an Emmy for this, or she needs to win all the awards. This is acting gold. This is this. So they're talking about it like they know it's a show, but they're also acting like Nicole Bahari really told off a white lady and she's a civil rights hero. They're like, Nicole, the way you told her off, and people in the comments like, showing Nene leaks, and it's like, you told her and all this stuff, and they're cheering it like it's real, but they also clearly know it's fake. And then I've noticed that with a lot of things where, like, I'll give another example, right? the dancing scene with Aunt Viv, where she does the dance. It's a very iconic scene from Fresh Prince with the white girls, but they're not really celebrating Janet Hubert as a dancer. Like, wow, look at Janet Hubert do this great routine. The people online cheer at Viv showing up the sassy white girls, and you could tell they're channeling whatever kind of um. There's this thing that's called the spirit of the stairs in French. It's called it's a French term, l'esprit d'escalier, and in, it translates to spirit of the stairs. And it's this thing where after something happens, you're on a staircase and you think of the perfect thing you should have said. Too late. And that's called the spirit of the stairs. Like way after the fact, you're like, oh man, I wish I said this or I wish I did that. And I feel like a lot of modern black people, especially representation black people, they consume black media like that. Like they get really pumped over these like scenes of black people telling off white people and they cheer it on and they're not really appreciating it as art. I didn't lose you, did I? You still there? Okay, I'm gonna make sure.
No, but I also feel okay. So let me ask you this question,
Yeah,
because I do think that happens because I see
yeah.
it all the time online. But I also feel like sometimes, like I would say with that Aunt Viv scene in particular, I think sometimes the shit is so as executed so well artistically that you do feel a personal connection to it though. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I just think something's performed that well. Like I think Aunt Viv did such a good job in that scene, and then her comedic timing after it where she falls onto the floor. I think all of that sort of is why you get the reaction that you get. I don't think it's just these personal, like I want to tell off white people. I do think that happens, but I also think sometimes good art and good performance lends itself to people being able to connect with the character or what's happening in a scene.
I think that's definitely true. I just don't think these people operate on that level. Like I think the people who like I don't think older generations really had this fixation as much, but I think new people are like that. Like I
Like
think
they
the
blur the
people who
lines a little bit more, is what you feel?
I'll put it like this. When I was growing up, we didn't even notice or care about the Franklin thing on the side. And I feel like the people who are obsessed with that year after year are the people I'm talking about who process the at Viv thing differently than we do. Like, I don't think it's at all a blanket statement. I think it's more a particular group of people kind of have this weird assimilation anxiety that they process everything through. And that's like,
I,
I'm,
I get I
I'm
get that, but I
yeah,
also think okay, but you also said something I wanna hit on too.
mhm,
And the reason why I want to is because I think if I were to play devil's advocate on this and say, okay, but at the same time, there's this perspective, and I don't agree with this perspective. That's why I'm saying devil's advocate.
yeah.
There's this perspective that older generations let things slide more so when it came to certain things, because especially when it came to media portrayals and media how black people were seen in media, whether it's cartoons, whether it's television, whether it's movies. And I feel and if you watch old movies and television, and you watch a lot of documentaries and people talking about, or just talk to older black people, they talk about just being excited about the mere fact that there was a black person represented at all. So that in itself was the step forward versus how they were represented. And so could it be argued that maybe your generation saw it, and because you're not saying your generation saw something like that and was just like, well, and that's just how it is, versus saying, wait a minute, this is like low-key kind of problematic. Because there's certain things that I know I watched growing up and I didn't think anything of it. And then later I was like, I'm like, wait a minute, this is kind of fucked up. So could that also be the case?
I mean, I'm biased, but uh, I think not. But the reason why I think not is because
Okay,
our lives didn't begin or end with black representation on
that's
white
true.
TV because we didn't expect the same thing that these people expect out of them. Like, I didn't expect white people to make me feel good.
Mhm.
Like I didn't want them to like 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 people think that they're the first people to think of this stuff, but we had movies like Hollywood Shuffle that spoke about all of this. So it wasn't like black people back then didn't realized that we look kind of fucked up. We just kind of realized we would comment on it, but we also realized that's like white people.
That's what they're gonna do.
It's
That's
up to yeah, it's up
yeah,
to us to have, our own
yeah,
stuff. So we had a lot of stuff that was made by black people for black people, even if it was on white airways. Whereas I think these people are very, very fixated with winning
with
over white people.
and having white people represent them well.
Yes, but also even their all black shows, they're very obsessed with having them recognized by white people.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
like there's a
It's a
yeah.
very I'm just repeating back to what I hear you
Mhm,
saying.
mhm.
It sounds like you're talking about a very select group of people. It's not that they're saying like, "Hey, this is problematic because it's problematic," and just accepting like, well, "This is what this is what white folks do." It's this constant need to appeal to white people
Yeah,
and be
and then
accepted by them a
and,
certain way.
and keep crying when they let them down, like and also like over celebrate when they do the bare minimum, like if they just have a black
That's true.
person not smoking crack, they'll be like, oh, this person invited to a cookout, like shut up, that's like the bare minimum, like why are you even like this cookout's so gentrified by the time you guys are done with it, and that's the kind of person that I'm saying when they talk about the Aunt Viv thing, they're very I think they're appreciating it in a different way than the way we like. I'm not gonna say that we were purely about the art. Like there is a part of us that like seeing the white person get their face rubbed into it, but we didn't quite believe it. We didn't treat it like it was real and act personally vindicated in the way these people do. Is what I should say. Like I'm not gonna try to say like we
I get
were
exactly what you mean
we're
now.
above falling into the trap. Like a good TV show should suck you in and let you forget it's not real for a while. But these people, I feel like they act very personally vindicated and they tweet. They'll like tweet at the white girl. They tweet like, "Yeah, there you go, Becky." It's like, who are you talking to? Like, you're in a Twitter thread. It's very bizarre. But but this one was like one of them where all these people were congratulating uh writers, actors, and fans were congratulating Nicole Bahari as if she really did something. Like Nicole Bahari came through with that work. It's like, no, this was written. Like this is why you guys act like this is real. But I'm gonna play it. And there's all types of shitting on the white lady that was happening with this too. Like like did freeze frame her face and goes, yeah, she tried it. Sorry, let's go on.
A few days ago, a racially insensitive email surfaced from UBA board president Sybil Reynolds. The email contained comments about me. I haven't spoken out in public until now, and here to join me as I do so is the woman who wrote those comments.
So can you hear that? I need an excuse to stop it anyway to avoid a copyright strike.
Yeah, I
The
can
audio
hear
is fine. Okay, cool.
UBA board president Sybil Reynolds, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me on. Now, I know there was some furor, well deserved, over the statement that UBA issued some days ago. It was inadequate, to say the very least.
And this is like, at the height of DEI when, that was popping post George Floyd and everything. So, I feel like that's kind of the context for this.
The mistake was mine and mine alone. And I'm here to apologize in person. Chris, I am deeply sorry for what I said. Even in the heat of a contentious hiring decision, nothing can excuse what I said.
So like, when all those executives were having leaks and they found out they said racist things, like the Sony lady and I think ESPN is something similar.
You mean calling me Aunt Jemima?
I didn't exactly call you Aunt.
I want to set the record straight. You know that Aunt Jemima was on boxes of pancake mix and not cereal, right?
I guess I know that now. But
I also feel like a real white person with media training would not kind of laugh like that on the live thing. Like I feel like she'd have enough sense. Like I feel like they kind of made the white woman extra obnoxious to kind of make the SmackDown better.
Yeah, like she definitely wouldn't have been like, I know that now. Ha ha. Like
Yeah. Like I don't think she would have really cared. She would just
Only
have known better than to like
I do think, unfortunately, that there are some politicians in today's world that probably would say something crazy.
Oh, sure.
However, this character doesn't come off like she would.
Yeah, she works in media. She's not like Ron DeSantis or something.
Right.
This is about more than just an offhand comment. The irony of your joke is that the pearl milling company used the image and likeness of a Black woman to sell a brand. I'm sure with no profit participation. My question is, what brand am I helping UBA to sell in your eyes?
Look, words matter, actions matter more. And UBA has been sorely inactive when it comes to equity and inclusion. Now, the board isn't involved with day-to-day operations. We leave that to the capable leadership of our CEO. But when that leadership falters, I have a duty to
You have to keep stopping it every now and then.
step in.
Don't you dare.
She firing shots at Corey?
Oh, he deserves them.
I'm not sure you answered my question,
No,
but let's talk about stepping in. What would that look like? Do you even think it's possible to win back the trust of UBA's employees?
you know something? I do. I do think it's possible. And it'll start with a dialogue between UBA employees and the board. From now on, you all will have a voice at every single board meeting. Now is the time for transparency.
That's great to hear. True.
I don't watch the show, so I don't know the full context. I don't know if they coached the Black woman on how to speak to the white woman, or if they just let her freestyle, or I don't know if they coached her and she went off script. But I feel like normally they would have a Black person, because first off, the Black people they hire in general, no one this bold would get through the ranks. First off, you know what I mean, and then they would I think make sure you ran through how you were gonna forgive them, like But again, I don't watch this show. Maybe within the story, she was really prepped, and then she just went, um, off the reservation or off the plantation, if you will, you know. But anyway, continuing.
Truly. In the interest of transparency, was I hired for a permanent anchor position because I am Black?
Obviously not, no.
But you see my confusion, right? Because you used a clumsy racist comment to complain about my hiring. Did you think I wasn't qualified? Was that it?
And like that problem for this to me, it's not even entertaining as a comedy, as a drama, or anything to me. It just seems like I don't know a pander. I don't know what you think. Maybe I'm too cynical about the thing, but
I
it's
think
it was meant to be tweeted about.
I definitely think it was meant to be tweeted about. You might be a little bit too cynical. It's not that bad. I've seen worse. I think also my scale has been lowered a little bit. My standard has been lowered a little bit to where I just sort of, if it's not as bad as like Kindred or the other Black girl, I just sort of like, it could be
Oh,
worse.
did you see Kindred? That was a whole other mess.
That was one of the worst shows I've ever seen. And I couldn't even figure out how they thought this was. Everything about it was bad. Everything.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of shows I watched that were bad. There were some that felt like had potential. So this isn't as bad as it could be. And also I don't have enough context to judge. Nicole, I'll just say she is so pretty.
Oh yeah.
She is one of the most pretty, like prettiest women ever right now. But yeah, that's all I can say. But the scene itself is fine. I just really think that she's not, to me, I haven't heard her do anything so get a little bit sassy.
Okay, see, my problem is I feel like she's tweeting. Like this is like a TED talk or a tweet. Like there should no answer. Like I mean, to be fair, this is something liberals do a lot. Like the West Wing does this all the time, where somebody just sounds like a encyclopedia and they beat the person with factoids. And I feel like real arguments don't work that way, where someone just listens to you, berate them with you know, indisputable facts and correctness. Like my superior research is going to expose you for what you are. Like, I just don't think it works.
I think it's an oversimplification of how racism works and how these spaces work. It's like, you know what it is? I think it's this generation, I want to say that's like right under, maybe about my age and a little bit younger, who grew up on these TV shows with these very superficial ways of dealing with racism. You know, the episode of That's So Raven where they deal with racism is it's written in this very like, oh, if you just use logic, then that'll appeal to the main people around, you know, what this issue is with racism. I think it's very simple. I think it's oversimplified. And I think with shows like this, at least from what I'm seeing so far, it's not even about actually addressing anything. It's really about how do we just go rah rah by the end of this. It's not really about, hey, let's really enlighten our thinking. But I don't really have that expectation from really anything in entertainment at this point, black or otherwise, white or otherwise. So,
Okay.
Well, in point of fact, at that time, I did not believe you were qualified. Let me rephrase. You were untested.
Well, that's not exactly true. Were you aware that I was Q tested more than any other person who has ever anchored the show? That I had to have 8 different approval meetings.
Yeah, I don't know if a black person wrote this or they just feel like, hey, this is what black people we know talk about all day
yeah,
long. But
this
this
is what
is,
they wish they would have said. I don't feel like,
yeah,
you know, that thing that you wish you could just like, you ever have those conversations or arguments or an interaction with someone and it's like you go and take a shower and then you think of all the things you wish you could have
yeah.
said. That's what this
That's
sounds like.
that's a l'esprit de Scalier thing I was talking about. Like that, you know, you rewrite, you know, you thinking the perfect thing way after the fact.
Right.
Yeah.
Meetings in addition to the strategy discussions about my hair.
I was unaware.
And I still found time to spend weekends with 4 former anchors developing my on-air skills.
Well, now that is impressive. It's very admirable.
That aside, I don't understand why you used a racialized image when discussing
It
me.
equals to music.
Is that how you see me? Is that how you see us?
Like these people are always begging white people to see, like, who cares how she sees you? That's how she treats you. Like,
Right.
like
Why do they show the black lady producer or whatever? like
they're showing all the minority people and also like the good white people, you know, who are watching. It's all like okay, like you take Jewish people. A lot of people who respect Jews to their face don't like him, but they know they can't talk badly about them. Like we think, I feel like black people think that everybody that gets respected must be liked. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of people that people respect but can't stand. You know, like
Right.
yeah. Like at the end of the day, it's about how you're treated, not how, like, you can't control how people feel about you in their hearts. All you can control is how they treat you, you know. Yeah, exactly. If you try to if you try to deal with race like this, they would laugh, but you see it all the time. Like, you know, they'd be like, okay, who are your 4 friends? They were unqualified too. In their head, that's what they'd be thinking.
This stare down.
Yeah.
It's killing me.
Would you want your entire career reduced to one unthinking, boneheaded thing you said in an email? Haven't you ever said anything that later you came to regret when speaking casually?
Yeah, and he's showing the minority people in the room, especially the black.
You're in a leadership position at this network. And on your watch, you let employees of color be systematically devalued. Is that something to be casual about?
Donnie, tell the camera to push in on Sybil and keep pushing until I see her pores.
And this is what they like to do too. They like to portray themselves as, we want to see it at the table, but once we're in there, we're fucking it up from the inside. Like no, you're not. You never, you never do this. I've never seen any of these people do anything remotely like this. Like when Bill Maher, used the N-word, no one was doing this. They were all,
Right.
even Ice Cube, bless Ice Cube, but he went there to explain to Bill Maher why the N-word's bad.
Right.
like he didn't know. And Bill Maher was just like, oh really? Oh that? Oh, I didn't really know. Okay, and everything is back to normal. Like just the way they see themselves, they try to portray themselves, like the lies that they want to tell themselves. It's just so. I mean, which is fine. Like I'm not telling you got to go out there and throw your job away, but just stop lying to us and yourself. You know,
Yeah.
and
We're supposed to break. You want me to cut?
No, no.
Okay. Camera 2, push in.
she's
Close
breaking
that.
all the rules.
No.
She's cutting off the commercials. This is the company's lifeblood. She's
And
saying,
one thing you cannot do is cut off commercials. So,
yeah. I mean, if it's for something like the OJ chase, maybe, but I mean,
right.
maybe she would get a. And also, for something that embarrasses the company, maybe something that helps it. But I mean, who?
Right.
But also something else. You know what? Let me not even get started because I'll be here all day.
I was careless, and there isn't any excuse. But you have to understand, we don't just give this opportunity to anyone. Anyone who sits in that chair has to be grateful.
There it is.
I should be grateful.
That your job is so very hard to get. I want to say, as for UBA as an institution, going forward, I think we should move on from this climate where racial divisions are exploited.
But that's every.
You know,
climate, though,
my
wouldn't you
problem
say?
with these kind of scenes, I'm
Mhm.
sorry,
Yeah.
it's just unless at the end of this black lady leaves this network, I really don't see the point of this. Unless at the end of this, I don't know what happens. I've never seen this show. Unless
Mhm.
at the end she leaves this network, I really don't see the point of all this grilling her.
That's a good question. Does anyone know the consequences of what happens with this rant?
Yeah, because what's the fucking point? Because if you're just gonna stay working for them, what's the point? You know what they think about you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
No, that's a
If
great
this lady
point.
just
Or
say you should be grateful, like, nah, bitch, be grateful I'm here. You know, like I'm just saying, like this is how I think when I'm at a job anyway. I always think like, well, what I bring to the mission of this space. So if I feel like this is how someone is talking to me or thinks about me, on top of all, I don't even know what the email said, whatever this racist shit that was said. Like all that is saying something to me. And so there's no point in me sitting here grilling her about any of this shit on their network, giving them ratings if I'm not leaving. In fact, I don't even see the point of even staying there. Like this isn't a fantasy to me. Because if I find out this is who I'm dealing with, it's time to go. I already have a name. My name is now everywhere. People are gonna be picking me up left and right. I'm sure her agent already hit her up and was like, hey, we got other networks that's like, this is how they treating you. Come on over here.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're
Yeah.
clearly hosting
One
one
or
of the
two things
top
would happen. Either she would end up getting a
networks.
bunch of offers or she get blacklisted, depending on how it went down. I mean, how it went over. But yeah, just going back to work and going back to normal, I think would be weird.
Yeah. So someone said that the lady steps down from the board and the black lady still works there. But me, I'm just like, fuck all y'all. Y'all the ones who put her in this position. I just have a different way of thinking about things. And I have a thing about working for people and for spaces where I feel like it's valuable and I'm doing something that I just have a certain self-respect and a certain integrity to what I do. So I just don't have this thing where it's like I gotta tell this white person about themselves on their network. I just don't have that thinking. It's just I don't know.
Okay, let me
The
continue.
whole point of the show is to let their audience know about the toxic workplace, but they need to stay there to deliver that message. So it's funny that this person says this because I think this backs up your entire point, T.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think this is basically saying this is this is who's behind the camera. This is producing these shows. This idea that they want to feel like they're exposing something
Yeah.
and live vicariously through this. I mean, to me, that's what it says.
But yes, we will move on from institutional racism right after this break.
And that's the line that everybody was reciting. Like, we will move on from institutional racism after this break. That was the mic drop. And it was just like buzzword salad to me. Like, I just feel like, that person read a
Yeah,
bunch of Ibram Kendi and was like, I'm ready.
that was kind of corny. I mean, it's a cute little GIF, GIF.
Yeah.
It was kind of corny though.
Yeah, and it's someone gives a great point. If the head of Apple programs are caught saying racist things in emails, there's no way to go on let an employee take them to task. They got rid of Jon Stewart for offending China. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's also strange, but I feel like the Franklin thing comes from that same school. Like every year, people are talking about Franklin sitting at that table, and they even wrote a story like a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, where one scene prompts controversy every year. And what's kind of interesting about this, right? Um, Actually, they went through, and this article is kind of fair. So they talk about it, but then they actually, and this is the thing that people kind of leave out. They actually put the controversy. They put the context behind it. So they asked Charles Schultz, the creator of Franklin, right? His wife. They asked her what happened, and the big problem is, oh, why is Franklin on one side of the table and everyone's on the other side? And someone could argue, well, these two white kids are by themselves, but they're on the smarter end of the table, so they have an excuse to be. He's on the long end of the table. So they asked her, and she said that, and this is, I think, very true about Franklin. So one of the reasons I never liked Franklin, I grew up a big Peanuts fan. Like I used to read like the actual like comic strips all the time. And Franklin is there to be a model Negro. There's nothing wrong with Franklin. Like, he's not depicted racist in a bad way, but in a way, he's almost a well-meaning kind of racism in that Charles Schultz never really gave Franklin any characteristics outside of not being a stereotype, because Charles Schultz was trying to be progressive himself. And he thought he was giving positive representation, but the problem is that comedy comes from negativity in some form. So all the funniest people in Charlie Brown have some kind of flaw. Like Snoopy's like a narcissist. Peppermint Patty's a bully. Like Charlie Brown is like a loser. Lucy is mean, and you get the humor out of that. But Franklin, he doesn't even have any weird quirks or neuroses for you to really make fun of. But you can't really make him a straight man that is the brunt of the other people's jokes, because that'll look racist. So we just kind of end up just being, there to be nice. So what the wife of Charles Schultz said was they want to give everybody something comedic to happen, a little spotlight. But because Franklin didn't really have any neuroses or foibles to play with, they just had to have physical humor for him. So various things are going wrong at this cookout, and it's mostly, from dumb things the other people are doing. But for Franklin, his chair just breaks. So she said that in animation, there's very limited to what you can do, especially with cheap animation. So for the chair breaking joke to work, they figured visually it would be better to have him by himself. So when his chair broke, you could render it better, because to have the chair break between people, that was apparently too hard. And so supposedly they were unthinking. They didn't really think of the connotations of putting him on the one side, because they just put him on one side to make the visuals of the chair gag work, and that they didn't intend to be racist. Now, maybe this is true, maybe this is not. People tell lies all the time, but it's at least plausible to me. But to me, worst case, even if this was done for racist reasons, like, okay, either give up the show or learn to get over it. But like most of the people involved in this thing are dead. Like, what do you keep bringing this up every year for?
Okay, so I'm gonna be 100% honest. When I first saw this, I thought it was racist but funny in the sense that it was old. So it's like how you look at old Dr. Seuss books and you're like, well, of course it's an old Dr. Seuss book. Like, I'm not surprised that there's some racism. So, but I thought it was more like, ha ha, look at how racist this shit is. Not so much, let's make it a criminal case. Let's make it a federal case, if that makes sense. It's
I,
kind
I
of
think
like,
I think it depends on which black people. Like I think most normal black people were just laughing, but I think like
because it was
those
a meme. It was like, if you remember, it was a joke. It was like, just it was a funny joke about like, damn, why'd I do your boy Franklin like that? Like,
yeah, but that's regular black Twitter. Like you're just laughing it off, But no, I'm talking about like woke black, like media
No,
representation
I
type.
know who
Yeah.
you're talking
Oh
about, but
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just saying, I'm just giving my first reaction.
Oh
I'm talking
yeah.
about for
It's funny. Yeah.
yeah, because when I first, it's like, yeah, it's probably racist and unintentionally or not, but it was what it was. It's like
Yeah.
it's so. It's like when you watch a commercial and it's like, damn, why do all the white folks dancing in a phone commercial?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
it's like I went to, in fact, I think it was a phone store like T-Mobile or something. I was with my homegirl. She was Latina, and we go to the phone store. And we noticed that with all the pictures of white people on their phones, they were working, they were doing something, like they were at like in a cubicle or at a computer, and it was like, yeah, all the reasons why you need a phone. But for the black, it was a black guy. He was sitting on the couch. For the Latino, he was doing yard work. Right? It's like,
Oh yeah.
dead serious, right? And so it was like, damn, that's crazy. Like how racist, like, and I'm sure whoever thought of that was like, this is perfect marketing, right? But I think sometimes it's like you notice these things. The reason why, and not saying you don't make a federal case about it, but not saying that they're not problematic. They are, whether it's intentional or not. However, I think the approach to it is always flawed. That's the problem I always have. Is the approach to it. It becomes like, let's start whining about this and let's start whining about that, versus why aren't we taking more control of our own shit? Why aren't we representing things ourselves? Why is it always white people and how they represent us? It's always like that sort of thinking that always kills me about it. And also, we still utilize the same people. We'll still watch those same networks. We'll still utilize the same products. It's not like we ever really take a real stand against it. It's just, hey,
Yeah.
nicer to us.
Exactly. Like, you're not gonna boycott the stuff, but you're gonna
Right.
keep yeah. Uh so in this article they say, at dinner, Franklin, the only black character, is seated by himself on the opposite side of the table in a beach chair, seemingly quote unquote segregated from the other kids. For those who feel uncomfortable with how the scene is depicted, it could feel anything but accidental. But the decision to sit Franklin by himself wasn't racially motivated. Schultz's widow Jean said her husband had to work to engage Franklin in his comics and stories because he didn't have as many overt character quirks as the other kids. So writing a scene in a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving in which Franklin's chair break provided him with a moment in the spotlight for humor. The action works on screen if the gag is shown with a clear view opposite the other kids. Thus, the placement of Franklin makes it easier to animate the gag, but also having all the kids on the other side makes it easy to show their reactions to him falling down instead of having the back of some kids' heads. So, those two reasons. I'm like, okay.
Well, to keep it a buck,
Mhm.
what would have solved the real issue then with the scene, if I'm working for Schultz or whatever, real issue is that you don't have a diverse enough group of characters to pull this off. It's really
Yeah.
what it is. Because now
Yeah.
you have this one black character, all these white characters on the other side, because you already just didn't have from the very start of it enough
to be
diversity to give you
to be
that
fair, yeah.
contrast.
To be fair, it was 1973, and
Yeah.
Franklin. They had to fight to get Franklin into the strip. Like they threatened not to run the strip, or they asked to turn him white. And the story goes that Charles Schultz said, "You either print him as it is, or I'm quitting." And
Yeah.
he forced them to put it. So I understand why they can't have. They had to start
Yeah.
somewhere.
And no, I'm definitely not saying this as a critique, but I'm just saying that already creates the visual problem.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get what I'm
Exactly.
saying? So
Yeah.
you already kind of started off like, oh, we want to create this scene. Well, if you it's gonna optically come off terrible. All the
Yeah.
white kids on one side and the black kid on the other. It's just optically gonna be bad, especially when you're, still in some places, Jim Crow is still a thing,
Yeah, and they were probably so busy patting themselves on the back for even having him there. Like they didn't really think they could do anything wrong, probably to a certain degree. Yeah, but I mean, they always learn. Like I feel like this wouldn't happen today. 'Cause I feel like people would know, but yeah, they always learn, and then they find a new way to be racist.
Yeah.
But they adapt to the old way, then they find a new way to fuck up. So
Because at the very root, if as long as the roots of the tree are racist, the fruit's always going to be racist. That's just how it works, But Franklin has a new cartoon coming out.
yeah, that's what prompted this because the trailer for that cartoon to me is insane.
I
But it,
saw, and I think it's supposed to be based in the 60s or 70s because his favorite music artist is James Brown in the trailer.
I just think they thought that made him look precocious. That's my guess.
Oh, okay. 'Cause I was a
I
little
could,
confused. I was like, so what era is this supposed to be in exactly?
yeah, I mean, I don't know. That thing is weird. But I just want to show. Just want to show it real quick. Oh, hold on, I clicked the wrong thing. Hold on. Oh yeah, even Willie D weighed in from the Ghetto Boys. He did a video. I'm like, oh my god, Willie D cares about this. Like, he was like, look at this peanuts thing where all the kids are sitting on one side. Were they being racist or frankly? I'm like, oh my god, you're like me and the Ghetto Boys just trick or treating. Like, what the hell happened? How did this?
I mean, I think sometimes people. I hate to say this. I don't know how old he is, but sometimes like some people just need to get off the internet because they just start looking at shit for the first time. Like, oh wow, this thing that we've been looking at for like 10 years, and they'll be like just discovering it, and their mind is blown. My
Yeah.
aunt sends me those. I feel like this is something my aunt would send me a message on. Like, did you know this is like Aunt Debbie? Yeah, we know.
So you say your aunt would
My
do
aunts,
something.
just get off the internet. We know.
Yeah. So like a lot of different places covered it. Rick and Bubba, CNN, Pop Culture, like it was covered in all these places. I couldn't get over it, and a lot of the new special that I saw based on the trailer seemed like it was trying to low key address those people. Like it was, like it seems so written like a 50-year later apology, like their version of the old white lady. It was.
Well, it was also promoted like that. So I was looking at the articles promoting it, and it's pretty much written like, "Hey, remember that scene that you guys saw, the Thanksgiving scene? And well, now look at what's coming out now. Franklin's gonna have his own show. This black character that had no characteristics, they're gonna give him all his own movie or whatever.
Not
So
just
yeah,
Yeah, not just that. It's his origin story. Like, who even cares about any of the origins? They're not supposed to have origin stories. Like, why are you making a prequel on on Franklin? Like, it just seems weird to. But also, like, I feel like this is this person's art. Bless you. This is Charles Schultz. He died. To me, it feels kind of wrong giving one of his characters. You don't know who Franklin was in his mind. You're taking that dead man's property and filling in blanks that he didn't ask. Like I just feel like you kind of shouldn't do that to me. It just seems weird, but the ship has kind of sailed on that anyway. That's very normalized now. But
do kids even care about Charlie Brown and Franklin?
no, this is not for what they're gonna do is the weird parents who care about this are gonna sit the kids down, kind of like they sat those poor little black girls down in front of uh Black Ariel and tried to force the black girls to be on camera pretending like they actually care about like
Well, my niece did like Black Ariel.
what's that?
My niece liked the brown Ariel, as
I'm
she
not saying
called
they
her.
don't. I'm not saying they don't like it, but these parents were putting the kids in front of the trailer. I should be clear. These parents are putting the kids in front of the trailer, and the trailer would start and be like under the sea.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
And then they were showing the little girls and like, how are you feeling? Like the parent, and my mom was like, "Mommy, is that me?" I'm like, "You trained her. She did not say that." Like my niece was a kid when the original one came out. She just sang Under the Sea and danced. She didn't care that Ariel was white or whatever. She wasn't thinking like that. These 3-year-old
true.
kids are not like
Because it wouldn't even be a conscious thing for the most part. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's not like, I do think it's something to be addressed, making sure that your children feel proud and feel pride in being Black or whatever. But it's not for the most part, it's not really a conscious thing where it's like, oh, now that I see this cartoon character, then I'm gonna feel pride in myself. You know?
Yeah, yeah. It's like woke Munchausen's by proxy. Like, Munchausen's by proxy when those parents convince the kid that they're sick. Like, like these parents are like trying to convince their kids like they're offended. Like,
Wanna hear something funny?
yeah,
My homegirl, I have a homegirl, she's Mexican and her husband's Black, and I have a daughter who's Black and Mexican. And she's my homegirl's really big on her daughter having Black and brown dolls, right? Like
yeah.
huge on it.
Hmm.
And so I guess at some point her daughter's like, I want the blonde Barbie because she sees that there's blonde Barbies. And so
Yeah.
now my homegirl, she's just like having a whole heart attack about this. When I say she's Mexican, I mean she's like, I'm indigenous, I'm Mexican
Oh, gotcha,
hardcore. You know
gotcha.
what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I'm proud of Mexican. I'm proud of being Mexican, right?
She one of those militant Mexicans.
Yes, yes. So for her, this was like she's having a whole heart attack. And so she's talking to her daughter about her daughter goes, Mom, mind you, her daughter's like 6. And her daughter's like, tells her, Mom, I just want the Barbie. I'm proud of who I am.
Oh, that's just and I guess that's really, the ultimate goal you would hope that, everything could be equal. So I don't know. It's a tough.
But it was just so my homegirl finally got her the doll, but my niece was just like, and I had to explain to my homegirl, I think she's telling you like,
Yeah.
she gets it. You want her to be proud of being Black and Mexican and having brown skin and all that, but at the same time, she's trying to tell you, I want a diversity of dolls for my imaginary
Yeah.
play. You
And,
know?
and the reason why I say it might be a good thing, right? The way I was thinking about it, like, was when you're trying to lose weight, if you can eat healthy, then that's like a one level of winning, but if you eat healthy by having nothing junky in your house, that's one thing, which is what I do. But the real mastery comes when you hit the level when you can have junk food in your house and eat it in moderation and
Yeah.
still be healthy. And I feel like that's where her daughter reached. Her daughter reached the point where it's like, I'm comfortable enough with this that I can have the so-called negative thing around me. I don't have to have my brain. Like, I feel
Right.
like that should be the final goal. You should reach a goal. You should reach a point where the Black kid is able to look at the white thing without internalizing lower self-worth from it. Like,
Right.
they can appreciate it for what it is. This is racist or whatever, but that doesn't mean something's wrong with me.
Right.
That's their issue.
And I think a lot of that also comes more so from the environment, not just the toys. And I think toys are
Yeah.
important. And I think all those things are important. I think the media they consume is important. I do think those things have an impact. However, I think the biggest impacts are usually the spaces where they're socialized, which is
Yeah.
usually home, school. Are they at a school where there's also kids that look like her, right? So one of the dope things about the school that she's at is it's very diverse. And by diverse, I don't mean like there's mostly white kids and there's a few kids who aren't white. I mean, it's pretty much mostly non-white kids with a few white kids there. And her best friend is also Black and Cuban, right? So she has another Black and Latina friend and has other Black friends, and she's always around her Black family. So there's these things to me have a stronger impact on her having pride in who she is, because she went to an all white school and was around family members that weren't of her culture. I mean, non-family members and weren't around people that were of her culture. I think that would have a
Oh, yeah.
bigger impact than just a white doll.
So I feel like what you're describing is kind of like the difference between a symptom and a cause. Like, I know to say that correlation doesn't always equal causation. Like,
Mhm.
maybe everyone thought the simple solution of, oh, the dolls must be causing the inferiority complex, but they could have actually been a symptom of a inferiority
Mhm.
complex that was coming from what you're talking about, the context in which the people grew up. Like,
Right.
like so basically that's treating the symptom rather than actually addressing the cure.
Right. Like my dad used to do the doll test on me from the Brown versus Board of Education. He would do the doll test. He had different versions of doll tests, I remember one time he would like put 2 dolls in a different room, and he would, one might be a lighter doll, one might be a darker doll, one might be whatever, and he'll say, "Go get the pretty doll. Go get the smart doll.
Mm.
Go get the," and I would go back I was like, if I came back with a black doll, then in his mind he thought, okay, I'm instilling black pride in her. So I always had, my parents making sure that, and they themselves were very strong on feeling like your blackness is something to be proud of, and who you are, something to be proud of, your culture, the way you talk, your hair, all these things are things to be proud of. And whether you do, and the other thing was, and it wasn't so rigid in like, oh, if you straighten your hair, you're no longer proud of who you are. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It wasn't like that rigid, oh, you pressed your hair today. You're not black anymore. But when I went natural, my parents didn't. It was like my parents,
Mm.
"Oh my God, what's wrong with you?" Like, it wasn't a conversation. And I do know people whose families, when they stopped relaxing or pressing their hair, or they got locks or whatever it was, their families went crazy.
Oh,
So,
really? The family tripped on them?
oh yeah, oh big time. So you're in New York, so it's a little bit different where you're at, because y'all been wearing locks and all types of stuff for a long time. LA wasn't really like that.
Mm.
So when I was coming up, relaxers and weaves were the thing. So I knew girls who they had to, when they would cut off their hair to grow their hair out, their natural hair out, that was a big conversation.
Yeah, because I remember you guys had the Jerry curl later, and that just became a big East Coast West Coast thing. Like, especially with the Jerry curl and fighting
Yeah.
over that. It was weird. Like in New York, they really, really hated the Jerry curl. And looking back, I'm not really sure why. Like we only had it a few years earlier. It wasn't like we were above the whole thing. That's what makes no sense. You would think we never had it. Like it was, but we treated like the West Coast like they were uh such sellouts or lames for having it, and we just had it. And the S curl was still around, which is just the Jerry curl's like cousin. Like it's not.
Right.
It was
It's
such a
basically
weird
the same thing
judginess.
with just less drip.
Yeah, like it was a very weird thing to feel superior about. Like looking back, it was very stupid when I think about it.
I mean,
Uh,
people
okay,
likened it to the conch, so
yeah. So this is the scene. Hold on. So all these people have something
Come on, Snoopy. We
bad
don't
happen
have
to
any
them,
time. Hi,
and for Franklin, this is the gag. They put it here, and they want to give him his comedic moment. So he goes here on this table, and then he falls down. So I don't know. It's plausible to me because it's so fleeting
mhm.
that it's like, I don't really think it was that big a deal. It wasn't. It was a blink and you miss it kind of
Yeah.
moment to me. But now let's see. The reason I put that is because I want to show the trailer. So now this is the trailer. And the problem with this trailer to me is I think it's just not funny because it's too busy trying to be on message. But here it goes.
But I feel
Okay.
like, okay,
Okay.
let's just play it.
you see it over here. You know where you found
So you can hear the sound, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
It's,
let's just
it
play
was
it.
it was you turned it down.
Yeah, just I thought it was kind of loud, but let's see.
Hi, I'm
Can you hear it okay?
I've lived
Yes.
a lot of different places. My family is always on the move. This was it. Our new town. Do you want to have... Excuse me. Making new friends can be hard. I'm Franklin Armstrong. My name is Charlie Brown. The big soapbox derby race is coming to town. The winning team gets a trophy and free pizza for a whole year. What do you think, Charlie Brown? Partners? Partners. Hey, Franklin, what kind of music do you...
Like, okay, the Peanuts characters are just shits to each other. That's the appeal of Peanuts. It's a very cynical cartoon. Like he created the cartoon to kind of show his cynical view on human nature, but use kids to illustrate it. So there was like a lot of bullying, codependency, like little weird things. So it's like a Peanuts show that's just about everybody being awesome is just weird. It just doesn't feel right because that's where all the humor comes from. So if you look to me, it doesn't really have Peanuts type jokes. They have to give it new style sitcom The Office type jokes to make it work because they took away the storytelling engine from the actual real thing.
Yeah. I think but I think it was intentionally they just wanted, whoever made this just wanted to use the characters for nostalgic purposes and have
Yeah.
no intention of really telling the story of Charlie Brown. Like, I don't, or the characters in Peanuts. Like, I don't think it had really much to do with that at all, as much as it was just licensing the characters to tell this story.
Yeah, I agree. I also have this theory that because Apple TV bought the whole Peanuts thing and they didn't want to hear uh right, they got the Peanuts catalog because they wanted to help grow Apple TV. And
Mhm.
they're probably, because that's how people think now. They think very online. Even executives, they'll be like, there's this little residual talking point or controversy. Like someone probably told the CEO this. There's a little controversy or recurring thing that happens online where people are mad at Charlie Brown. Like, wait, what are you talking about mad at Charlie Brown? Like, he's not a real person. He goes, no, they're mad at him and all the Peanuts because they wouldn't let Franklin sit at the table 50 years ago. He's like, what? And you're like, yeah, there's people like still butthurt 50 years later. And it's like, is this gonna mess up with the marketability of the Peanuts catalog? What do you think? Like, are a lot of millennials not gonna get Apple TV to see this now because of this? And someone who's probably paid like 6 figures as a consultant to make smart decisions was probably like, actually, sir, it might be worth making a whole special to address this. And he's like, well, if you think so, Carol, and here's your check. Get out of here. And this was like a focus group thing that's like, it's going to maximize the residual value. This helps bring Peanuts within DEI compliance, and it's going to be okay now.
DEI compliance.
Yeah, when people watch the Thanksgiving special, they can now stream it in peace without having to give us negative press, because if someone says, hey, why is Franklin sitting on this side of the table, you'd be like, oh no, it's okay, they fixed it. He's on the other side now. And people actually care. People be like, oh wow, that's good. Now I could watch it. Well, so anyway, I don't really think it's gonna work. I don't think people actually make decisions like that, except for a handful of crazy people online who don't spend money on anything anyway. They're gonna pirate this. The people who are actually gonna be happy with this are all gonna pirate it, or just watch the clips on Twitter and cheer it on. So it's
Yeah, I don't see much, like, I wouldn't renew my Apple TV subscription based off of something like this.
Yeah, but that's what they're hoping. They're hoping that people will actually, like, this will tweet enough that when it goes viral, all these people will be like, oh man, how do I see this great thing remedied? How do I get to see this thing that's as historic as, in Israel-Hamas alliance? Like how can I see this important thing? Well, you gotta go to Apple TV. It's like, well, I'm gonna do it. I waited 50 years for this. My parents told me about this. My parents told me this was important, and I owe it to my parents' memory. I got to watch this great war crime appeased, and that's what they're hoping is going to happen. It's not what's going to happen, but it's what they think is going to happen.
Like the godfather of soul, James Brown.
At the show, we're culturally sensitive to Franklin. We're not just going to make him a brown version of Charlie Brown, because I think that's another problem people has. Oh, like he wasn't authentically black enough. He was just a white character shaded black. So they want to show, no, this Franklin is culturally aware of who he is. He listens to James Brown, and he brings diversity to the group. He's not just a whitewash black guy. He brings authenticity.
But this is what made me wonder what decade this was supposed to be in.
I think
because he pulls out a magazine with James Brown on the cover.
I think they want to make him look extra cool. Like if they had him pull out, hey, this is Waka Flocka Flame, or that people get mad about that. They'll be like, oh, so that's what he listens to. He listens to like mumble rap.
I mean, that would be. I mean, Waka Flocka would have been random, but like I don't know. Whoever the young kids listen to now that they at least somewhat take seriously.
Lil Durk, he puts out Lil Durk and shows him a Lil Durk TikTok. They'd be like, oh no, oh hell no, yeah, he didn't like that. So now he looks like he hangs out with Questlove. They want to be a Questlove black. And that's what he is here, I think.
I don't know. It might really be a clue into the time or period.
Maybe. I mean, that would make sense. and the kind of people who make these things don't make sense. So that's why I don't think it's that. Because what you're saying is the better story idea, but that's the exact reason why I think that's not going to be. Because nothing that I've seen so far makes you think that if there was a fork in the road between a good decision
You are
and a
so
bad
full of
decision,
doubt.
these people would, choose. I don't know. You say I'm so what?
Full of doubt.
Yeah, I guess I am.
You are. I think
I keep getting
Kenny
let
has.
down. I
I
keep
think
getting
you
let
and
down.
Kenny are two of the most pessimistic people when it comes to the you have no faith in these people whatsoever.
You know something? I still have faith sometimes, and it keeps getting dashed. Like I'll give you my other recent thing of faith. Keith Lee and that lady with the food truck.
Yeah.
When the lady kept the money for the food truck,
Uh-huh.
that just knocked me down another peg because I'm like, wow, we're living in that now. Like in that. Okay, so people don't know. It's the background. Katie and I are really pessimistic about people online,
Yeah.
and basically how Black people are becoming online, and like we're just kind of like black pilled on it. It's just too much. It's and the lying is rampant. Like I mean, society wise, we're in a really scammy era across the races, where there's crypto and NFTs and all types of. So I don't put it all on Black people, but I feel like we're really running rampant with like the Brick Lady is another one. There was a Carly Russell. There was
Brick Lady.
that lady that got hit with the.
Oh yeah, Brick. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Keith Lee one is so crazy because I anybody who's ever watched Keith Lee knows he always gives extra money for other people, like on your staff. He clearly
Yeah.
said braider, hair, guy who the barber, like give them $1,000. Like he's and so that people can get free haircuts. Like he said this on the video. I was like, what? How did you
See, that's the
conclude?
part that I said it just knocked me down even more because you have now people are so brain dead for clout now that now people are lying on recorded video on live streams. Like I'm lying about it. Like Keith Lee was on this live stream saying clearly it's 1,000 for this person, 1,000 for that person, and 2,400, and it's being streamed to like 1 million people, and it's being repeated and rewatched by people after the fact. So it probably has to be like over 10 million now. And a woman seriously went on and said he didn't say that. I was like, fuck. But even I didn't think someone was gonna lie like that. Like
it was nuts.
Who you gonna believe, me or this that 1 million people saw in real time? Like,
And then he had the fact that he even had to like clarify,
explain
that on top of this other thing I saw, and you're not on Twitter anymore, so you probably didn't see this.
Yeah.
But some guy said that that Keith Lee, and this is one thing that taught me something, that no matter what you do, there's gonna be groups of people who have a problem with it. No matter how innocent it is. Like the guy just literally.
Let me guess. One or two things. I know one of these is gonna be right. Keith Lee was exhibiting toxic pedagogy, toxic hegemony, privileged patriarch, Black community, or capitalism, socialism.
There we go. It's number 2. It's the second one. So basically someone tried to say that he exploits these restaurants for gain.
Oh, actually, I did.
Yeah.
I actually was already aware of that. Okay,
and then they said restaurants, like how restaurants exploit hungry people for profit.
I actually did see that. So you know what? I get no credit for the guess because I actually did.
Okay,
I actually did see that.
Bruh. And it was just one of those eye-opening moments when it was just like, and I should have had this eye-opening moment a while ago when people were upset, acting like he trashed a bunch of Black restaurants in Atlanta when all he did was give honest reviews. But literally, you can do something so innocent, like buy food, pay for it your fucking self, even pay more than you probably should, eat it in your fucking car, give a review, and somehow become a hyper capitalist exploiter of people
The
I was my mind was blown. People
the
hate this guy because he tries food in a fucking car that he
but
pays for.
but it's a business that already exists. It's not like somebody is sitting on a park bench and he's like, "Listen, you better start a business," and he puts them in business. He said, "And you kick the money back to me." Like, he doesn't say, these people, the business already exists. He
But
just
he
patronized them. Like,
he
how is
gives
he?
his listen.
But people like, see, that's what I'm saying. In a world where that's possible, like, how can you expect to have faith in that? Like, you make it seem like we're in this world where people are making a lot of sense, and I'm being this cynical. But it's like I keep getting shown I'm not cynical enough, because I had told Kenny. Kenny said it was Kenny said Keith Lee should have given the money directly to the people, and I said, Kenny, I actually have to draw the line there, because even I would have thought this has to work. I can trust. I told this lady. I mean, the whole reason why I think Keith Lee did it the way he did it was so that people could hear it. Like, he's straight up said on camera, because first off, it makes him look good, because good press that he's
Mhm.
right, and then he said who's getting what, and I think he did it for a good moment or whatever. But I think he also figured this will make sure that the money gets to the people. The
Right.
people who it's supposed to go to, they're gonna see the scene, so they're gonna know I did this. So I think I was telling Kenny, I think that was his insurance policy. Like, I'm gonna say it on camera to millions of people, and
Right.
and I said, you know what,
It's
I
just
agree with him.
sometimes he does. Well, this is the thing. Sometimes he does give it directly to people. So he might give it to the server directly. Like, so if he finds out, oh, this server is one who went above and beyond, he'll give them the $1,000 directly outside. So he does also do that. In
Yeah.
this situation, he said he was very clear. He said people were coming in droves. They found out he
Yeah.
was there, and they were coming quickly. So he was just trying to get his shit and get out of there. Is essentially what was happening.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So he was like, he said that interaction was like 5 minutes. He's just like, I just wanted to hurry up and get it done. He also wanted to be really careful with the way he gave the money, because he didn't want to just have people, he didn't want them giving him their information and it's on camera. So
Yeah.
he used this one system, the POS system or whatever system that they
Yeah,
use.
point of sale.
Yeah, so he used that system, and so he said that will be it was quicker. It was, and they were supposed to distribute it to everyone else using the other methods, whether Apple, whatever, because he was trying to get out of that space, on top of the fact making sure everyone's information was secure while everybody has their cameras out and filming. So which to me made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And he even told them why he wanted them to give the braider and the hair barber money. That's smart.
Yeah.
He said that's marketing. While people are waiting, because it's gonna be a long wait now that you got all this attention,
Yeah.
they could be getting a haircut, getting their hair braided, and that's gonna bring you extra attention. Brilliant.
Yeah.
But she fucked her shit up. But that was just evil. That was just really fucking evil.
That was really evil. But it's like when Kenny was saying, "Oh, he should have given it in people's hands." I was like, "No, Kenny," because even I would think that would be enough. Like,
Right.
how can you predict people are that trifling? Where with millions of people seeing what
Watching.
you clearly said, you would still just tell people after the fact, "No, that wasn't what he like." It was below what I thought my limit was.
But to even have something so generously done for you, to even just not even in kindness, you know what I'm saying? And on top of that, you start charging for the food after he said, I'm paying for everybody's food. That's kind of foul. And then you got more money in a day than you've ever gotten.
Yeah,
How much better was that marketing going to be if you had done the right thing? That's
Yep.
so fucking crazy to me. But yeah, I know that's neither here nor there. My whole thing though is just, it really showed me how no matter what you do, how it's the basic things of what you do. He keeps it very simple. All the things he does, he keeps it very simple. And people will hate him anyway. They will say
Yeah.
the most ridiculous things. Now he's some evil guy who's exploiting small businesses.
A lot of people, the whole social justice thing was a dream because it gave them a very socially acceptable way to hate. Like, back in the days when you want to be a hater, you have to be like, damn, man, look at it, man. He thinks it's big shit. People are like, oh, you're a fucking hater. But now if you're like, oh man, look at it, he was a capitalist exploiter of the proletariat. And it's like, yo, you're fucking right, man. Like now you can just hate but you're like immune from the criticism, like because when I was young, there were times I used to hate, and the people was like, yo, you sound like a fucking hater, and it's like,
Right.
you know what, you're right, I do sound like I'm hating, but now you can just because basically that was saying Keith Lee got too much money. If he just said, hey man, Keith Lee got too much money, man, in an old school hating way, it's like, who the fuck are you a pocket watch like that? But if you're like, Keith Lee has fucking too much money according to Marx, and people are like, oh yeah, when you put it like that, you're fucking dropping knowledge.
But he doesn't even talk about his money. He doesn't talk about how he gets sponsored. He doesn't talk about any of those things. He just does what he does and then gives money away and helps businesses get attention. What he had always been doing.
Yeah.
Something anybody could do. He just clearly did a better job at it.
Let me tell you something. That person who tweeted that heard of Keith Lee 15 minutes ago. That dude saw Keith Lee trending. He's like, who the fuck is Keith Lee? Oh man, hold on. I gotta have a take. Because God forbid something in the world happens and I don't have a take. And then he just Googled around and he's like, okay, I think I got it. And like Keith Lee's experts cap, like he was too eager. He didn't want to check, like the trending topic was off to the races. And he came late and he's like, fuck, it's already going. This thing only has about an hour left. I gotta get in on this. And it has to be one of four things. I have a 25% chance of getting it right. He did some quick checking. He's like, this take's ready to go. And he just let it fly. And he's like, fuck, I fucked up, man. I think that's what happened. That's my theory.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And also, I feel like the part that killed me was he set it up and said what he said, and then set it up to where anybody who disagreed with him or pointed out how ridiculous that was, he makes it out like, oh, you just are obsessed with Keith Lee because you see him as a god or whatever the fuck he said. And you're like, no, what you said was just dumb. Like, it has nothing to do with how much we like or don't like Keith Lee.
That dude just wakes up hating, man. That dude, he just wakes up. He wakes up. He has free floating hate like a cloud in the air, and it's like he doesn't know who's gonna hate yet. But he's like, I gotta hate somebody today. Who's it gonna be? And Keith Lee just showed up right at that time. It was like, yo, this is it. Like that's what like if they don't have someone else to hate, they're gonna hate themselves. So they gotta just they gotta fix whatever's going on that makes them hate themselves. But they don't want to do that because it's hard and requires self-awareness. So it's like, okay, I'm not gonna clear up whatever's gonna get rid of this hate. So it's gonna eat me up if I don't just put it on somebody right now, and just Keith Lee came there and that was it. And now you have your new acceptable way to hate. You gotta say this person was spreading colonial pedagogy, and just add that to the hating, and you got a socially acceptable way to displace the hate on you for like an hour. You get an hour reprieve.
You know what's interesting about everything you're saying?
Yeah.
And these type of people in general is that I feel like sometimes these are people, especially the people who love representation and DEI and all that stuff. Like they'll talk all that shit, they act like they know all the things. They use all the language. They even cite the fucking scholars or whatever, right? And then they'll also at the same time be satisfied with shit like this.
Oh yeah.
Like Franklin. Because you know what's funny? I saw this trailer and I've had a totally different. Now I know I tend to be very far radical and left than most people. I accept that about myself. It's fine. But I saw it and I thought it was propaganda personally.
I mean, it is kind of propaganda.
I thought it was propaganda. That's why I was like, is this the 60s? Because this looks like some this would sound like, because I've noticed this thing with period pieces, cartoons, whatever it is. They're doing this thing where they're showing these new diverse histories. They're including Black characters, but they're getting along with white people. And it's just blowing my mind. And I'm just
yeah.
I've noticed that a lot.
Something I think happens too is there's this weird thing whenever a Black guy does anything capitalistic, it's like, oh, Rock Nation Brunch, here comes LLC Twitter, or or they're wearing suits again or whatever, but then the extra social justice version of that is, oh, Black men want to buy into white patriarchy, and the colonized tries to emulate the colonizer and all this stuff. But then those same people, when a black woman like makes a bunch of money, it's all about celebrating the degrees, the black person winning, like Easter eggs got eight figure deal, like yes. It's like, I don't know why this is weird. Like, people forget what they were mad about and why just 10 minutes later. Like, they have no consistent type of like, everything's compartmentalized to what do I have to say in this exact moment to get the most clout. And then you just
Facts.
clean your mind, you wipe it clean and start your new take like 10 minutes later, and it totally contradicts your first one. And it's like, fine. Like, people be like, wait, why was it bad when this person was making $1 million, but it was good when this person was making $1 million? And they'll act at you like they don't know what you're talking about. Like, that was somebody else. That was me 10 minutes ago. Like,
Right.
what
If
do you?
LeBron James starts a production company, it's a problem. Issa Rae starts a production company, all good.
Yeah.
On top of Issa Rae opens a restaurant, all good. Nas opens a restaurant. He's a capitalist.
Yeah, it's like so. Yeah, I don't know. I just always find that funny. But actually, let's just finish this trailer. It's almost done. There's a very particular part in here.
You're not related, are you? I don't believe so.
See, that's not a Charlie Brown type of joke. But anyway.
I love how James Brown is completely colorless in that image.
Yeah.
My grandpa always says you gotta want it
So this is about finding your crew and happy music, right?
Yeah.
to get it. Let's see what we can really do. Friendships are not perfect, but we can get through the rough spots together.
Yes, that is not anything that ever happened in a Peanuts cartoon. Like, have you ever seen the very first Peanuts, the very first appearance of Charlie Brown?
I do not remember.
Okay,
I've seen whatever has come on television.
Oh God, this sums up Peanuts in a nutshell. This is the very first strip of Peanuts. So this guy goes, well, here comes old Charlie Brown. Good old Charlie Brown. Yes, sir. Good old Charlie Brown. How I hate him. And it's just basically how fake people are all the time. That's what Peanuts says. Peanuts is like talking about how terrible adults are using kids. Like, the whole thing, you can find your crew and love and friendship. Like, that's not what Peanuts is. It's just, but it goes to your point about it could have been anything. They didn't really care about if this was Peanuts or not. They just wanted to write this story, and whatever existing IP they could just do it with, they did it.
Yep. Because I think it was just about getting the licensing to use the characters. You got to remember this too. Younger kids, especially, aren't going to remember Peanuts. So the kids that would actually be the demo for this are not going to remember Peanuts. However, parents will remember Peanuts. And whenever they make cartoons and things like that, they're usually trying to reach to both demos, both parents and children. So the goal is to get parents to let their kids watch it, or to get their kids to watch it, like you talked about earlier. So I think the nostalgia piece is for parents, and the way that you tell the story is for children. So
I think the problem I have with this, right, is like an uncanny valley. Uncanny valley is when the closer you make a fake thing resemble the real thing, the weirder the disconnect becomes. Like the weirder it looks. Like, kind of like with CGI, the closer it mimics reality, it almost becomes weirder. That's what I feel like with this. This is too close. It's too close in style, whatever, to the old one. So that when the presentist ideas come out, it comes really weird. I think what would be better is if they just went all in with the modernizing, like give them a crisp lineup and like a gradual fade. You know what I'm saying? Or give them like 360 waves. Like, they just get ridiculous, because then I can at least laugh at it for how ridiculous it is. Like,
But
I
then
could even hate watch it. Like, this is too boring for me to even hate watch. I'd rather just give him 360 waves, the grills, or just something crazy, or give him a Killmonger haircut. Like, just picture Franklin come out. He's got that.
honestly, what
side
you're
dreadlock thing.
describing actually doesn't sound bad. So you're trying to make it
Yeah.
sound bad. It actually
No.
sounds kind of good. I wouldn't even hate watch that. Actually sounds
Oh,
kind
really?
of cool.
No, like I would hate watch it, but with admiration, like for the boldness. You know what I mean? Like a little bit like She-Hulk was like that. She-Hulk was so bad, but I started getting a weird affection for it because I was like, wow, these people really tried to make a bad show. They weren't bad out of laziness. They were like, listen,
No, it was a bad show.
Yeah.
Okay, after this, I know because it's getting late, but
Mhm.
so I watched all of Rap Shit.
oh, I've watched the first season of that, and oh my god,
I
that
watched the
thing-
first and second season. I watched the
Ooh.
entire series because I just wanted to see why it got canceled. And
The first 10 minutes of the first episode told me I got canceled. I got vertigo from all that social media switching that they were doing.
that was some terrible. So I saw what they were trying to do. That it was totally executed poorly. I think the problem. So the thing about that show, Rap Shit, and if you guys haven't seen it, you guys should at least watch the trailer so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. The problem is that I think the concept was good. I think there was a lot of potential there. The bones were there.
Yeah.
And they really could have had a good show. There were elements of it that I think that Issa's really good at. And then there were the things that I don't think she's so great at, right? Or just and the people that she hires just aren't that great at. For this show, particularly, I thought they do a pretty decent job of giving you kind of the things that Black women of a certain age go through, like certain experiences that they have, the ways that they need to grow and adjust, and the challenges that they have in their mid to late 20s, these kind of things. I thought they actually did a pretty good job of showing you these experiences. However, these girls could not act.
Yeah.
It was so poorly written when there were so many things that were just right there. Like they had it. Like the one character, her mother was an alcoholic, her daddy's locked up. Okay, we can kind of get to why she be tripping or why she does the things she does, but they're so poorly written, and the mom character is so poorly written, it's still kind of hard to have sympathy for her. You know what I mean?
And
They don't really give you, okay, she has daddy issues. Okay, we can see that it would make sense she would have issues with men. But they don't really connect those dots for you in a way that makes sense and makes her less dislikable. Like she's completely dislikable, her and the other character. You hate them the whole show. And they can't act.
Yeah, this is what I realize is Issa Rae's writing style. See, you're talking like it's a show, like themes, characterization, writing. Issa Rae is really, really internet obsessed and has come up to the internet. And I realize what she thinks or wants to make a show. She wants to make a show your besties online. She wants you to develop a parasocial relationship to the things, and then she wants you to forget that it's a show. Because if you ever look at when people defend the show, because the show was so bad, I started reading reviews on the show, and the negative reviews would be like, "This show, the writing is terrible. This show, blah blah blah," and the good reviews were like, "Yo, this show is a shit, man. My girl so and so, I know she's gonna kill the game, and we all know somebody like her who's rough on the edges, but she's got a good heart." And it's like, damn, they hijack your brain. You think these are your friends on social media. So your friends on social media, you're never gonna have that deep a conversation with them. Like if she gives you too much depth and tells you, oh, why is she like this with her parents, and why is she doing this, and what was the background, the trauma, it sucks away the ability to think of this person as your internet friend. Because now it's a real world person.
And I'm laughing because that's so what you're saying makes sense, because I was so frustrated because I kept going, oh my God, you're like right. But I kept watching it. The only reason I kept watching because I kept telling myself it has to get better because they're so close.
Vita, notice this. Do you notice that every time you're looking at the people, it's mediated by a third screen, Think about it.
Yes.
You very rarely see the people not through the screen. So everything they do, they show it to you as a. So when she's breaking up with a boyfriend, he live streams it. So Issa Rae is forcing you to experience it. So what these people become, what that show is reality TV. You know how
Yeah.
reality TV works. They have different characters, and then but it's kind of real, but it's kind of not. And then you gossip about it, and everyone does posts back and forth, and which Real Housewife is mad at which Real Housewife, and the social media is woven into the TV show narrative, and people go back and forth. I feel like that's what Issa Rae is trying to make with her show. She tries to make it so that these become your online friends you gossip about, but she made it to me even more literal with rap shit by literally make you consume everybody through the social media persona. It was very. It's not a real show.
And I think that's maybe what turned some people off. I know for me, it was a struggle to get through. It was like almost grating to get through. But there were things I did like. I liked the overall story. I thought it was actually pretty interesting. And I thought there were elements there that were really good. I thought the situation with the baby daddy was really good. I thought, in fact, he was the only character on the show I liked at all. Lamont, it was a character.
Yeah, he's very good.
And the guy who played him did a really good job. Like that was one of the few actors I thought did a really good job.
I'd love to see more of him. He was very good.
Yeah, in the second season you do, and he does a really, I mean, he kills it. But the other thing is when your acting is bad and you have these hard-hitting scenes that are supposed to really hit.
Yeah.
Whether it's comedic, whether it's dramatic, whatever it is, you have to be able to pull that shit off. And there were scenes that were supposed to hit hard, and you're so frustrated at how bad the acting is.
Yeah.
You can't even feel the scene. You're just like, bruh, this is supposed to hit. Like this is supposed
The
to
other
be
thing
like,
is
damn.
too, they made it seem really easy to blow up in rap. Like that was just the weirdest come up. What the hell is that? Like,
and they weren't good. Like it wasn't even like it was mind-blowingly. Like you ever see some freestyle that goes viral and like, damn, this actually was pretty fire, right?
Yeah. But even those take way longer to blow up than. Like I was telling someone that I saw years of Meg Thee Stallion freestyles on the street before she finally picked up enough to start getting fire. Like there's so much good stuff out there. And that little thing in the car, seduce and lose. Seduce. Oh my God, look at seduce and scare. Oh my God, look at the views. Everyone's going crazy. Like,
yeah, and I was like, this isn't good enough for all this attention at all. On top of the fact that a lot of the other thing that was frustrating me about all their live streaming and all that, a lot of it was dumb.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't anything to me that came off like, oh, these are two girls who really were trying to make it in the music industry. It didn't, and nothing they were doing in my opinion, were things that would help them blow up. They weren't being strategic. Like it just seemed like they were just doing whatever, which is fine, but them doing whatever wouldn't have resulted in them having those opportunities that they did eventually get. So if anything, you show us the struggles of them doing just whatever they're doing, it not working, it flopping, and then like show us their growth. Like it just was, I thought they moved way too fast. Like so many things didn't add up. Like all of a sudden you're on tour with the big artist, and by season 2, and it was nuts. And then and on top of that, the story and writing just started going left. Like there's weird extreme shit that starts happening. You're like,
yeah, they're just trying to generate social media content within the show. It's just very bizarre. It wouldn't be so bad if she has something to say about it, but it's just there as a. I don't think the internet audience is as big as everyone is convinced it is. That's the problem. I think they're way overestimating how online people are.
And I think they underestimate how much people just want good quality content and programming.
But they live in circles and cities and communities that are all their friends are extremely online. So they think everybody's like that, because everyone in their circles are.
I also think the problem is it's too much and too many analytics and data. And what I mean by that, I think they're looking at online data and analytics to come up with shows and figure out what gaps they want to fill, or trying to figure out what audience they want to target. And so they're trying to hit these target audiences, and then they're finding out this isn't hitting the way they thought. And I think that's happened with a lot of shows, and that's why they end up getting canceled because they think this is going to hit based off of what data is showing them.
Mhm.
But there's something about that data, something that's missing in that data.
Yeah.
My guess is that whoever they're collecting data from is from people who are frequently online, and that also including people who might not be as online as often, right? Or might not be as engaged in the same online conversation. So they might be missing people in that data that they're looking at. And so they're trying to target these demos, and there just really aren't that many of them. And also, one thing we know for a fact is, like you and Kenny always say, especially Kenny, people lie. People on the internet
Yeah.
say things for attention and to front. And if you're using Twitter and you're using all these other things for measurements for your metrics, you're not going to get the reality of what I think most people want, which is just good writing and quality content.
I think this is right too. I think the internet audience is big. They just don't watch in TV support TV shows like that. They are online, as in they stay online. I think it is true. I think they're overestimating. I should say, I said it wrong. I think what you're saying is the right way to say it. They're overestimating the extent to which the Twitter audience is actually going to tune in and get off
Right.
of Twitter. Yeah, that's a great
Because
great
I
point.
think that, and so they're looking at those metrics, because of what a bunch of people are saying on the internet,
Yeah.
and writing based off of that, even to the point where they're giving you content that doesn't really connect with your average person
Yeah,
who might not be online in that amount.
and meanwhile, the people that it would connect with aren't going to watch it. They're just going to digest it, cut a piecemeal online. They're going to wait. They're going to wait for it to be brought online to them. Cut up and pre-memified, and just riff off of that. So let's just finish this off.
A best friend is someone that you can totally trust. That always has your back. Hey Franklin, we saved you a seat over here.
That's the part where they really make it obvious. We save you a seat over here, so
Right.
they retcon it.
You found your home when you're.
And I was like, oh my God, you know how fucked up it is to be a grown black person and you're being moved by this? Like, look at this. Like, this is crazy because this is like they're animating their fantasies to us. This is their fantasies. Crazy.
And the Apple is letting us know that they see us, T.
Yeah, but I mean,
They
this
see
is
us. We hear you. We hear you, Negroes.
one of two things is happening here. Either they got someone's black input on this, and that black person, this is their fantasy, or I think it's even scarier. This is done by a white person, and even he understands this is their fantasy. Like that. He sees it, and he's like, "Yeah, I think this is what he would like the type of black person trying to appeal to."
We saved you a seat over here. You found your home when you're surrounded by good friends.
So he found his home sitting at that table. With getting a seat at the table. He found his home, and
Look at all those kids of color in the background.
I know. Look at that. What's that one in the? That's crazy. Yeah. I was trying to tell the races. I felt like. Hold on. Oh, you know what? That's the end of it. I mean, you get the point. It's so he found his home being the token black. But okay, this is the crazy part, though. Did you see the responses to it?
Mm-mm.
Oh, see, that's the crazy part. Actually, I forgot. I gotta put it back up. That was the main thing I wanted to show. Check out the
Did they
response.
feel seen? If they say I felt seen, I'm gonna be
Okay, so
That's
somebody
like-
put, "Oh my God, they fixed it," and they put out of everything in the trailer, they highlighted these two scenes. Like I couldn't believe somebody was actually happy about it. So they they put it up.
I think I saw that.
But then people were like, okay, someone is laughing, asking Charlie Brown if he's related to James Brown. There's no way you think that joke was funny. I don't care what you say. I refuse to believe you think that joke is funny. Like you are not laughing like this as a grown person. If you actually believe this is funny, it confirms my theory that these people have no actual sense of humor. Like they don't actually know what jokes are supposed to do. I don't know. But then it's like, that's beautiful. Oh, I bet this is gonna make Fox News mad. They're imagining Fox News getting mad at it. I love it where animators fix racism. I'm so happy and a bunch of crying happy. This really got me a bit teary eyed. I'm like, either these are real people or the studio
No.
is. But I look at these profiles; they seem real. Not me bawling at work. Lord help! They fixed it.
Bawling at work over
Yeah.
that.
Now who's cutting onions? This is so wholesome. Not gonna lie. And people are just going on, and I'm like, this can't be real. Like I don't know. But
Honestly, I think when I first saw that, I thought it was a like somebody else fixed it.
yeah, no. They were
I don't even think I realized at the time there was a trailer for a show.
yeah, they were the trailer for a show, and they were all like legit happy about it. But yeah, that was just blowing my mind. Like it really matters that much to people. I'm curious if we'll get any type of appreciable bump in subscribership for. Jinkazi E is saying it's real because I was saying that I was skeptical that it was real. Yeah, I mean, there you go. I don't know. Yeah, but I don't know. I think people are just weirdly too invested in litigating their life through this stuff. Like none of that looks funny. There's no actual jokes in it. Like Penis has like a lot of funny jokes and moments and putting the football and a lot of mean gags and the psychiatrist's office and all this stuff. That was just, oh my God, we love each other. We love you, Franklin. Franklin, you're the best. Franklin, how do you feel? Hey, Franklin, you want to sit next to us? Hey, Franklin. It's like you're imagining like your high school years. What if in high school everybody was nice to me? Or whatever.
Yeah, I just remember Lucy being like really mean
Yeah,
to Charlie Brown and moving the football and saying mean things to him.
yeah. And Schroeder was like obsessed with music, and he didn't like to connect to people. Everybody has a kind of weird flaw. Like Linus had a
Yeah.
security blanket. He was afraid of everything.
In fact, they used to call me Linus growing up because I used to always wear a jacket, and that was they called the jacket my blankie. It was my security blanket. I used to always wear pullover windbreakers no matter what the weather was.
Yeah.
I used to always wear jackets.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a very creepy view into like a mind. It was just to see him all. It felt like I thought this was what Get Out was supposed to be warning you against, and all y'all love Get Out. It's somehow, that's still your fantasy. It's kind of weird. But you know something else they did? There's this other thing they do where they take old cartoon shows with a token black and they try to pretend that the token black was the best friend of the main character. So Franklin was never Charlie Brown's best friend. But you notice that they keep trying to make Franklin another way they're trying to get that, value that they imagine is like, now I'm the best friend of the coolest character in the show. They elevate
Yeah.
his best friend to a position that he never had because in their mind, that's who they want to be to the coolest white people.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that part, but you're right. Because in fact, I vaguely even remember Franklin.
He didn't really do much.
Yeah, I remember Peppermint Patty. I remember Lucy. I remember Linus. I remember, of course, Snoopy and Woodstock and the what's the other one? The one that plays the piano.
Schroeder.
Yeah, Schroeder and the dirty one. That was the one that was always dirty.
Pigpen. Yeah, that's the thing. All the memorable ones had a flaw. And by making him so generic, he wasn't really good for the comedy. And I think that's what I'm saying. It would have been actually funnier if they played up with stereotypes and with the lineup and everything, and actually, give him something that's not like squeaky clean. You know what I mean? Just to give him some kind of edge, so they can get some humor out of him instead of this affirmation fest that they've kept him a blank slate, except now he's a good blank slate.
I mean, I think like they could have done something like how they did Stanley on The Office. Like, I'm just here to work. I don't really fuck with none of y'all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just something where it's like So that's but I think someone in the comments said that I guess Schultz also said at some point he didn't really know many black people.
Yeah, that's why he said he wanted to do something that took a stand against racism, but he didn't really know any black people. He didn't really have any
Yeah,
characteristics to give him.
right. So how do you be culturally accurate if you weren't really around black people? Especially, how do you write a character, a black child, and how they might behave around black children or one black adult? You know, how would you write a character based on even a black adult character in a space of white people? Like that would be a very challenging thing if you've never actually witnessed it.
But I'll also say that I think the fact that he was the only black character and he had to fight to get him in, and he's so historic as the first character, it probably made it hard to give him flaws, because all the flaws the other ones have in him would have different contexts. Like if you made him a loser like Charlie Brown, so then you have the one black guy, like, you know, he's just everybody's crapping on him all day and just kicking him around. He's always on the bottom of it. Like, it's not gonna work with the black guy. You can't make him mean, you know, because now it could be
he's a bully.
Yeah, he's an angry black. Yeah, so
you can't make him Pigpen.
Yeah, you can't make him Pigpen. So, you know, he's kind of stuck. Like the negativity he's allowed to do with the other characters that makes him funny, you know, he can't do with him. And he's carrying so much weight. As like, if you had a multitude of black characters, which goes to what you said before, but the problem is there's not enough black characters to begin with.
Well, and the real problem is that racism is racism.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? The problem is racism. And I think trying to expect the fruit of racism to not be racism is kind of ridiculous, you know? That's what's going to come out every time. That's just how it is. I mean, I don't know how to explain it any better than that, but I just kind of feel like if at the very root you have the person who created it who doesn't even know any black people like that creating something, you can't really have expectation that they're going to be able to execute something diverse. I mean, he did the best he could, I guess, with what he knew and what he could do, but that's about all you could ask. And that's how you end up with something that's unintentionally racist, as far as imagery, you know. That's why you end up with things like that, because the optics look bad on something, whether or not it's realistic, whether or not it's really what it is. The optics still look bad because just the lack of diversity in the first place.
Check this out. There was a show called Daria, and then they had a token black girl character. She was okay. She actually did have some self-aware black moments that were actually kind of good.
I actually like this character. What's wrong with
I like. No, there's nothing wrong with her. I'm saying she's actually a good character. That's what I'm saying. Nothing wrong with her. But
she was like the voice of reason.
Yeah, she was the voice of reason, but she was a more minor character.
Yeah, very minor.
Yeah, but look at this thing that they were trying a couple years ago.
A brain. We may be tokens, but we're damn good looking ones. You think it would dishonor Dr. King's memory if I went to sit in the back of the bus?
So we need to talk about how iconic Jodie Landon is.
Ooh. Those are the lines you use to say she's iconic? That's crazy.
Ago, Daria came to MTV. The show focused on the shade icon herself, Daria Morgendorffer, and her family and schoolmates at Lawndale High.
This looks well balanced.
Ew! Damn it, we've got 4 mouths to feed. Food costs money.
I knew it.
The show was really ahead of its time. It touched on feminism, social class, and thanks to one of the show's few characters of color, Jodie, race as well. Homegirl literally ran Lawndale High School.
Thank you, Jodie Landon, valedictorian of the graduating class of Lawndale High.
I'm president of the French Club, vice president of student council, editor of yearbook, and I'm also on the tennis team.
She had the black boyfriend, box braids poppin', unapologetic attitude. She carried herself with so much class and dignity.
Someday I'd like to own my own business. Maybe a consulting firm geared toward minority startups.
She truly was someone that I wanted to be best friends with. But she was also very vocal about what it means to be under this gaze of being the perfect minority and the token black girl.
At home, I'm Jodie.
Now, one of the things I'm trying to get at here, I'm sorry for letting that play so long.
I can't.
Like, right. This is what I'm talking about. When do people know things aren't real? This is an example. Remember, I was trying to give you an example how people know it's fake, but they don't seem to know it's fake. She's this is the BuzzFeed video. The site BuzzFeed. This is where this is from, and this girl did a segment for them, giving a biography of a fictional character and everything she overcame. She's talking like the girl's real. I mean, am I the crazy one, or is she doing that?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
What?
I just can't believe all this nonsense this girl said.
Oh, yes.
I just am in shock. You should have started off with this, and that would have totally informed the rest of this conversation.
Oh, okay. So you're rethinking everything that you were saying before.
I get who you're talking about now. That person, that girl right there, and the people who this character was written, and chances are written by a white person.
Yes.
This character is not real. What was interesting is I wouldn't doubt if it was literally created to specifically target Black girls for that very reason, specifically Black girls who go to white schools.
Yeah.
Because this show was definitely targeted towards girls. That's easy get. I don't agree with her with it being ahead of its time. I think it was perfectly on time. This is one of those shows that is of the time, on time, and I loved this show. I watched this show. It would be marathons of it on MTV, and I would watch it the whole summer, just watching this show. So I loved this show. But this show, I think the sad part is when she says she could be best friends with this girl.
Yeah.
Granted, that's great writing and marketing and all that good stuff. But it was also sad because I feel like she was trying to put an academic and analytical lens on it.
Yeah.
That lacked self-awareness in that analysis, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that she wants to be best friends with the character says a lot.
A cartoon.
Yes.
Animated
like
character.
Maybe she grew up very lonely and this imprinted on her, or maybe she's still lonely. I don't know. But there's a poor sense of borders, of boundaries.
And it would be different if she talked about the character and its rep, because when you go to school, right, when you go to college and you take these kind of like classes in like English or whatever, part of what you do is you analyze characters and how they're written, right? And she didn't talk about the character and how it was written as though it were a fictional character.
Like she's a person. She's giving a biography of a person. She's not talking about the show as a crafted piece of art, like the writing, the dish. But every now and then they occasionally remember and say it. And that's what I'm saying. There's this weird way they talk where they acknowledge it as being created by people, but they also seem to simultaneously believe that the characters are real and part of their friend group. Or it's a weird parasocial thing.
And the thing I liked about the character wasn't a lot of things that she said. I was like, oh, that wasn't really liked about the character. What I liked about the character was I felt like she was always this reasonable voice. When Daria was going way far left with the shade, she would say something that actually made sense. That was very fair and balanced.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it was like the Daria, then it was like her sister's character being on the other extreme. And so it would be like, and you can remember this girl was also a cheerleader. So she's also popular. She's also that, but she's also smart, right? Where Daria was smart and cynical, her sister was popular in their head.
Yeah.
This character was kind of like that balanced character. So that's what I liked about the character and how she was written. And when I think of it that way, that's more of a writing thing, right? It's like we have this character that's so far extreme and cynical, but she to the point where she forgets that there's a human aspect to things sometimes, right?
Yeah, these people often forget that these are written by people, and that's why to a point they don't care about original creators. Like there's this Buffy fandom, right, of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but Joss Whedon turned out to be a creep and like a predator or whatever. But the people still, Joss Whedon's a creator of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, okay.
But the people still want, and he got canceled for a bunch of things. Like all these old stories came out. Everyone who had a score to settle with him or any type of gripe, no matter how long ago, it was like open season. You can unleash your story now. Like they have this new thing now. This is another way in which social justice helps validate a lot of ways to hate that you couldn't get away with before. Like before, if somebody was getting kicked while they were down, and then someone else came kicked while they were down, even if you hated the person, in public or whatever, people are like, okay, he's had enough. Like, stop it, put him off. But so we try dogpiling people. There's this natural aspect, I think, to be revolted by it, and that's another way I think social justice really help bullies, because now it's like, okay, if we're dogpiling, but in the name of justice, now it's great. We're just all being brave, So it's like,
Mhm.
especially there's like 5 bad things said about him, and someone goes, "Yo, guess what? He fucking kicked my dog in 5th grade." Like, people like, "Come on in, just kick him too." It's like, yo, someone else comes out and goes, "Yo, he called my sister a hoe," about 20 years ago. It's like, oh man, you know what? Just come on in, just get a kick. That's the thing, the world that we're living in now.
Yeah. I'm just sort of like I don't know. I guess I'm just sort of shocked that people really can't seem to separate themselves from these characters that they wish that they were.
They can't. I'm sorry, I forgot to finish my point. Yeah, so he got canceled. Joss Whedon gets canceled, but people still want to get new Buffy. Now the show's wrapped up. He was the creator of it. It was his masterpiece, and he ended it. So I'm like, even if he's getting canceled, just enjoy what came before. It's a finite thing. But people
Right.
want new Buffy product, new podcast, new whatever, but they don't want to like him anymore. So what they do is they had all the people that he bullied, like everybody who ever worked with him, who took a shot at him, was brought in and given a chance to do the sequel podcast, and help write it and craft it and do the voice writing. And then he was forced to give a public, you know, denunciation that I'm not going to be involved in this, guys. Don't worry, I'm stepping free of it. My dirty hands won't touch any of this. And then all these different actors and people who are on the show, basically with the help of some online writer, crafted a new sequel to Buffy that was a audio podcast, and everyone agrees it's terrible. Like, even the people who support his canceling, they were like, this was a very noble thing that happened. It just wasn't good. Like, everyone admits that this is bad, but to me, the idea that you could separate him from the work was insane
Mhm.
to begin with, but it can only happen in the world where people think the characters exist. In their mind, Buffy is a real person or something, and Joss Whedon was just her first biographer. He just came, he's not the person who actually created the whole thing and imbued everything you liked about her. He wrote every word that came out of his mouth. You can't separate her from him,
Right.
but in their mind, he's like, hey, Buffy, we're sorry that the bad man was your first biographer, but we just gave you a new biographer. This biographer is better. Like, they and that childish, like, separation, this idea that the character is real, more real than the person that made it, I think is what leads to things like this BuzzFeed thing, where this girl is talking about that way. If anything ever comes out about Mike Judge, the guy who created her or whatever, she doesn't have to worry about having to stop liking this character, because she just think, oh, poor Jody, your first biographer was just a weird, creepy guy.
I have the same like response when I see people who are overly excited about things that white people choose or create, and for Black people. So I'll give you an example. I think it was WWE or something. It was some sort of tournament or final championship. I don't know how that shit worked. Whatever the final big
Yeah.
championship was. And everybody on my timeline kept talking about how historic this was, because it was 2 Black women fighting each other. And how historic this was. And they got the girl up there crying because this was so historic. I kept saying, but aren't these written this way? They could have wrote this 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Black women have been wrestling since the beginning. I watched a documentary about Black women wrestlers not too long ago, right? so it's not like they couldn't have written this story a long time ago. They just now decided they scripted this. So it's hard for me to get as excited to be like, wow, like this is what it came to. No, like this was really what was written. Like they
See,
wrote this.
I'm glad you said that, because I feel like pro wrestling is where all this started. Like, they call it kayfabe in pro wrestling, and kayfabe is this thing where, as a wrestling fan, there's a certain amount of suspended disbelief that you kind of have to have, where
Mhm.
you know it's scripted, but you also gotta kind of pretend it's real to keep being a fan. But and then people start having fun playing with, like, people will share the official story of what happened, then also share the behind the scenes story, and they learn to kind of split it. I feel like people have done that for all media now. People just they believe it at the kayfabe level of Vince McMahon wanted to get over with The Rock, so he changed him from a face to a heel, no, that type of language. And people who actually talk about the storyline, like, oh man, do you remember when The Rock was coming up? Like, yeah, I think that relationship to reality that wrestling fans have to wrestling has become the average American relation with anything media.
Which makes sense. And actually back something I said when I said wrestling. Somebody compared wrestling to reality shows.
Yeah.
And then all the wrestling fans got mad at me.
No, that's a perfect actual
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But people got mad at me. All the wrestling fans got mad at me.
Yeah, it's real but scripted, and we know both, and we're gonna still behave in both ways.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
Reality show is a perfect
that's how
parallel
I
to
felt.
wrestling. Yeah.
And I didn't come up with it. I just agree with someone who said it. Well, he was the guy who said it was trying to take a dig at women, because some woman was taking a dig at men for liking sports.
Oh.
And then he was taking a dig at women for liking reality shows, and by comparing it to wrestling or something. That's actually a pretty good comparison.
Totally.
And so people who were into wrestling didn't like that and tried to tell me whatever. And I don't really like wrestling. I love it. I have watched plenty of wrestling documentaries. I love Dark Side of the Ring. It's one of my favorite
Yeah.
docuseries that I've seen. Shout out to Ray 2 Times to put me onto that. But it's I can't really watch actual wrestling because it's dumb. But it's so because I can't suspend my belief for those storylines. I just can't. I just can't do it.
Can you imagine? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I would say, can you imagine if, like, these people who you know, make Franklin their best friend or their stand-in, and then redo the Franklin cartoon to give themselves the love from white friends that they never feel like they get, or this girl who made Jodie Landon, like, I wish I was her best friend. Can you imagine if people started doing that with, like, pro wrestling? Like, pro wrestling just got a generation of woke fans, and now you have the Junkyard Dog's son, but he's a Proud Panther. And now the Proud Panther is like, they treated my dad like this. And he'll be in the ring. He'll tell off Vince McMahon, and they'll bring Junkyard Dog back for like a sob story, and it would be really interesting. That would be terrible. Like if they start doing this stuff, like, have all the old wrestlers come back and give Junkyard Dog a hug or something. Or
you listen. I think people would love that. I also think that sounds totally nuts. But yeah, I think that these sort of like blurred lines between fantasy, reality, having these parasocial relationships with these characters, I think all of that is definitely something that gets encouraged through social media. I hate to say that, but I feel like that's what influencer culture is rooted in. You have to feel like you know this person. I think a lot of celebrity culture, I think some celebrities get big enough to where they can basically disconnect from that.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of them are nowadays at least building their careers off of trying to create these relationships online and through social media. In fact, go ahead.
I could say that's why I don't understand why that Halle Bailey girl talks to these crazy people. I'm like, why are you doing this? Like she was explaining to one of these, like, these women who got betrayed by the fact that she got pregnant and didn't tell him. They feel like she was lying and hiding it from him. And I also think, in a weird way, I think a lot of them, they can't quite say it because they know how it sounds, but they want to say, how'd you have a child with a black guy? Like, we saw you in the Little Mermaid. We thought you were like gonna fulfill like our kind of sort of fantasies, and you know, um, you went and you had a baby with a black guy, and then she was there. She was trying to explain. I had told you guys before, blah blah blah. But holy crap, she's actually explaining. She's justifying herself to these insane people who think they have a right to know, to know her pregnancy.
Who literally tried to say that the man she should be with was her co-star in this movie, and they don't even know that man. They
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, he's in love with her. Look at how he's looking at her. He is an actor
Yeah.
selling a movie. That is his job. His job is I promise you, he part of his contract says, look at her lovingly to really sell this princess shit. I promise you that's in his contract somewhere. That's part
Totally.
of what his job was. You have to sell this movie. And the part of what you do is you sell this princess shit, right? And you play this prince, you hold her hand in the press conferences or whatever on the red carpet, whatever it is, right? They were selling a fucking movie. So I don't think people understand like
reality. That's what they don't understand. They don't understand reality. Like you're basically working your way around to what I'm saying. Like they don't know what the hell's real. It's crazy, man. It's very normal now to no, but this is the weird thing. They know what's real, but they know how to forget that they know what's real, which is even crazier than just not knowing it's not just knowing it's not real. Hold on, just finish it out. We're almost done. And then we can call it a night. But
Yeah.
I just want you to see the rest of this.
I can say or do whatever feels right. But at school, I'm the queen.
Like, I'm sorry, why did she make this video? Like, it's crazy. She went to her bosses. I couldn't even let it go a couple seconds without ranting again. But, like, she went to her bosses. Hey, I have an idea for the
because you said it was BuzzFeed?
Yeah.
BuzzFeed only cares about clicks. That's all they cared about.
If you can convince them to get clicks, I guess.
They don't care about shit else.
Yeah.
Of the Negroes, the perfect African American teen, the role model for all of the other African American teens at Lawndale. Oops, where'd they go?
To its credit, the show positioned Jodie to be the biggest critic of the show's overwhelming whiteness.
Isn't it great how they keep electing us homecoming king and queen every year?
Yes, it's such a generous and enlightened gesture. It completely makes up for the town's utter lack of diversity, in my mind.
And we're playing into it.
Damn college applications.
This is so humiliating.
Jodie was woke before woke even knew what woke was.
Why play into this stupid charade any more than we have to?
What happened?
Oh, what the hell? We may be tokens, but we're damn good looking ones.
Not only were Jodie and her boyfriend Mac McKenzie some of the few characters of color, but they were also the only secondary characters to have a three-dimensional storyline, independent from the show's white lead. In the show's film-length finale, Is It College Yet?, Jodie and her parents debate over which college Jodie was going to go to. Would it be the elitist Ivy League school Crestmore or the historically black college Turner?
I want to go to Turner, at least for a year or two.
You want to go to college to relax?
Relax socially. Stop being the black kid and just be a kid. I'm tired of being in the extreme minority, and I don't want to go to a place where people might think I got in just because I'm African American.
Now, in the end, Jodie chooses to go to Turner with her parents' support.
My parents said if I was so upset about Crestmore that I'd apply to Turner behind their backs, they had to respect my feelings. They told me I'd earned the right to be treated like an adult.
As we look back on the 20-year anniversary of Daria, it's time that we give Jodie Landon the respect and credit that she deserves. Her poise and dignity personify what it means to be Black girl magic.
Yeah, that was just.
How does she the credit that she deserves? You mean the writers? What?
Like, she presented like it was a Black History Month profile, like profiles in courage or something. It was like profiles in courage about, and then she had a second segment where she came on. She did two segments. She came on during the AM morning show to talk about Jodie Landon again. Like, she actually came back twice. They gave it. I don't know if one of them got clicks or what, but yeah, they brought her back to talk about it again. And in that one, she told him that it was her best friend. That was when she told him that Jodie Landon was Daria's best friend.
How is a cartoon or any character that is created and likely created by white people Black girl magic? That is so offensive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a Black Girl Magic. Don't get me wrong, it's a corny thing anyway. But it is what it is. You want to use it, use it. But it's a cartoon character that someone wrote. You know what would have been more interesting, BuzzFeed? Why didn't you find out who created the character or why they created the character and bring that and interview that person and talk about the ways that they developed the character? You know, like to me, that would have been 100 times more interesting than this person babbling about this weird parasocial relationship she had with an animated character. Like, why
Yeah.
not find out, like, oh, who created this character? Let's interview that person. Let's talk to that person about the development of this character, why they wrote this storyline for this character. You know, something that to me has a lot more meat and substance to it, but I guess it doesn't get nearly as many clicks as, hey, let's give her the credit she deserves, even though she's not real.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. But yeah, that's what a lot of these things are. They just want to relitigate. It's like they're canceling cartoon characters and then making them do their own version of that morning show thing. You know, like in the case of the Peanuts thing, instead of Franklin, interrogating Charlie Brown like on the couch, that was the other option. You know, they could have had Franklin on the other side of the table. Goes, why is it that I'm on this side of the table? He starts, sassing them like on the morning show, and he goes, maybe we should talk about what Thanksgiving actually means, guys, and colonial oppression. And he just fucks up the Thanksgiving by being really woke and talking about all the genocide. And then Franklin walks away, and then he knocks over the table. So then everyone online goes, "Oh shit, Franklin knocked over the table." And like that would have been one of the options too. But yeah, but basically they didn't want to. They want to bring back old cartoons. You either have moments like that, where like the morning show moment, or now it's a happy place and everybody is hugging me. But this is what's crazy. Those two segments got MTV to greenlight with the assistance of Tracy Ellis Ross, who's going to be the voice of Jodie Landon, a new MTV Jodie Landon series. And it's going to be everything I described. They're going to fuck up the character so bad. I so want to, and I'm yet so afraid to see it. It's going to be just like this Franklin shit. They're either going to kiss her ass really bad or have her. Yeah.
This is my problem with that. And this is an example of people who don't know what the fuck they're doing. Yeah. Like I said earlier, Jodie's character played a very specific role in the show, right? And it was basically to offer this sort of balance in between these worlds, right? This extreme cynicism versus popularity. And then also, and even in the scenes when it was like with the homecoming thing, whatever, she was on the float. It's like, how do I balance between having to live in this reality and having to play the game, right? Like, and this is basically her whole character the entire time. How do we get through this? Yeah, you're right. There's something to be cynical about here. We should be cynical, and at the same time, we still have to live in this world, right? That's kind of her whole character the entire show. That's not to me a main character. Her role is to be this sort of side character that balances this world that exists, if that makes sense, or kind of offers this sort of other way of looking at or nuanced way of looking at the world. I don't think this makes sense for a show unless they do it like you said. It doesn't make sense to show either way, but what they're trying to do is recreate this character and try to make her something she really isn't. This character isn't really created to do.
Yeah.
It would make more sense to just make a whole nother show.
Yeah, I'm just
and create a whole new character that does what they magically want it to do. Why take this character from Daria? And to me, that's not really expansion worthy, in my opinion. Like there are shows I've seen, and I think that are expansion or career characters could be expansion worthy. I still think Ashley and Hillary should have had their own show after Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
I'm standing by that. The two Black girls for moving from LA to New York to live their dreams, learning the hard way that LA ain't like New York, no matter how much money you got or think you got. Now you got to work and live on your own. Your parents are all the way back in LA. Like to me, that's a spinoff. Like,
yeah.
But Jodie was not a spinoff. I just don't see it.
I mean, she could have been okay, I guess, but I just don't trust these people to do it. It's just gonna be terrible. Like, I think.
Yeah, you didn't excellent writers, and I don't think these are the type of. I don't think we're in that climate.
The Black excellence crap. They're not gonna. It's gonna be so made for Twitter. It's gonna be so fucking bad. I'm just ready for it already. She's gonna be. They're gonna have class versus race things where she's got to tell Daria about her white girl feminism or something. Be something that's really.
Oh, and don't forget they gotta criticize black men and their love for white girls.
Yeah, that'll happen too. Yeah,
Like they did for the Proud Family.
oh, I didn't even know. I heard stuff about the Proud Family
I
one. I
just
heard
saw
that.
the clip where there's some black character, he didn't like black girls. He liked the one white girl at the school or something.
Oh god, yeah. I actually think I saw that clip. It's so weird. Like people fight wars over that now. Like it's like the Proud Family. All these conservatives were like just flipping out over the Proud Family, and they're weird too. The conservative ones, but the liberal ones, the conservative ones at least still acknowledge people create this stuff because they fixate with certain creators like, oh, this writer is terrible, this person. But the social justice ones, these things just exist on their own somehow.
But that's because they hate them. They have those same weirdo relationships with their people that they love and they care about. Look at how they care about Donald Trump. You know, they live vicariously through that guy.
That's true. That's true. They treat you know what's funny? Instead of treating cartoons like real people, like the social justice people do, they treat real people like cartoons. Like they turned Donald Trump into an action figure. So they took something real and made him something fake instead of taking something fake like the liberals do, and then
that's their GI Joe.
Yeah, that's too funny. All right, that's a good place. That's a good place to end it. Who knows? Maybe this thing will be really good, but I personally, there was not a single joke in the trailer except for James Brown. Any relation? I think that was the only joke I saw, and that's not a good Peanuts joke. I can't see it being it's too wholesome. They're gonna be afraid to do anything really funny, and it's just gonna be one giant hug for black people who have to navigate these spaces.
My test is always my niece. So I'll show her the trailer and ask if she wants to see it. She'll likely say no, and then we'll keep it moving. We'll have to watch something like, what if we watch she likes some black girl, dinosaur, something. It's a black girl with a dinosaur. I forgot what it's called.
And I think it might not be accurately Peanuts, but I think it might be good, just not good as a Peanuts story. Like it should be called something else, But the one thing I don't think it will be is funny. I just can't see it being funny. But yeah, thanks for joining.
I'm trying to think of what the name of this cartoon's called, but I can't. It's some black girl and Devil Dinosaur. It's so cute.
Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur.
Moon Girl. There we go. That's her thing. She like Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur.
Yeah, that I think that one actually is pretty popular.
Yeah, she does like that. But at any rate, thank you so much for letting me join you. I was actually on a Zoom call and I saw you had this coming live happening. And I said, "Oh, I'm already set up. Let me just hop on here."
Nice. All right, everybody. Have a good one. We'll talk soon.